Hello, welcome to our team call. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 21st, June 21st. And our call today, our topic is mindfulness, and we're just going to have a conversation about what mindfulness means to each of us. And then I'll share some mindfulness practice and tips. And Becky, if you have anything to input, that would be welcome too. That sounds good. So welcome everybody. Glad you're here. Andrew is off at a rehearsal. But I want to talk about mindfulness. What does mindfulness mean, period? Like what do you think when you hear that word? Anyone feel free to jump in.
I think it means being aware of like yourself and what you're thinking, what you're trying to create, like basically just deliberate creation of your life.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, having everything happen by accident or default.
Yeah. I like that. And I think, do you feel like mindfulness is a very common practice? Like, do you think very many people are really mindful or consciously aware of mindfulness?
I don't think so.
Oh, heavens, no.
Yeah, I love that. Cassie says no. Amber says no. Becky shakes her head. So why is this? Why do you think it is that way? So to me, mindfulness actually seems a little obvious, but I have some people that are very close to me in my life, my family, and certain members of my family that in my conversations with them, I get the impression that they probably aren't very conscientious of mindfulness and deliberate creation. What do you think gets in the way of that? Oh, here, Robin has a comment. She says, mindfulness is noticing without judgment. I love that. And Robin, here I am judging my family for not practicing mindfulness, right? And really, I mean that in the most loving way, just as an example, of something that's been a good lesson for me, right? So I like that. Mindfulness. Oh, Robin's a mindfulness instructor. Robin, hello. We should have you teaching us. I love this. Well, great. So Robin, please continue jumping in and I'll read your comments if that's the best way for you to provide your input. She's trained through mindful schools. I love it, Robin. So Robin, course correct us. I would love your professional opinion as we go along. Mindfulness to me means, yeah, Cassie, what you said, like being self-aware, consciously creating. I love Robin's definition, noticing without judgment, just noticing, I'd say like extreme awareness, right? And not even extreme awareness, but just awareness, period. You guys, sometimes we see those memes and stuff that say, or hashtags where people say, stay woke, and to me, that means be present, be mindful, and notice all the things around you, the reason why I use some people that are close to me in my life is because I see what mindfulness has brought to my life, and I see where I'm observing where others don't have it. I'm thinking, I wonder if a mindfulness practice would be good for them. And sometimes they're open to it, and most of the time they're not. But Cassie, going along that thread of what you said, you feel like it allows for more conscious creation. Tell me more about that. Why does mindfulness allow you to create more consciously?
Well, if you're mindful about what's going on in your life and inside you, your thoughts, then you can it's what Andrew calls a step one moment.
Yeah.
Where you can realize, if you do or you don't want it, and then, and figure out what you need to do in order to create what you do want instead of what you aren't wanting in your life.
I like that.
I have a comment on that along that line. I think that mindfulness allows us to, rather than react, it allows us to take action, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we're not being mindful, if we're just kind of in the moment and letting life happen at us, then we tend to start reacting to things more rather than acting in a conscious way. Like, you know, for example, there's good times to react, obviously. Like if a car is swerving towards you, you want to be able to react and take care of that, right? But that's not necessarily how you want to live your entire existence when you have places you want to go and people you want to see and things you want to do and what you want to become. You want to, you know, come into a more like, okay, if this is what I'm experiencing, what do I want more of and how can I get there? Just being more in a place where you can act rather than react. So to me, that's kind of how mindfulness is of a benefit to us, is that it puts us in more of a powerful position of action.
Yes. I love that. I really love that. And I see that a couple other people joined us. Melania?
It's Melena.
Melena. Oh my gosh. I was like, I know that I'm not pronouncing this right.
That's all right. I go by Lainey anyway.
Lainey. Okay, perfect. Well, Lainey, thanks for joining us. Do you have any thoughts to add on mindfulness or what it means to you?
Actually, I came in a little bit late, so I didn't hear the beginning of what you guys were talking about.
Perfect. Great. Well, feel free to jump in with any thoughts or insights. We're just having a group conversation here about what mindfulness means to us and why we think it would be beneficial. And so where we're at so far and where we're getting to is that mindfulness helps us to deliberately create. And I like that because, again, as entrepreneurs and business owners and people with doTERRA businesses, we're already in this vein of conscious creation, right? Like we woke up one day and decided we want something a little bit more, and more than just using oils for our own health and benefit. We want more, and we want more because we know we can have more, right? And again, that whole like stay woke thing, we're kind of waking up to this idea that, oh, we don't have to be reactionary. You know, we can deliberately create. And the reason why mindfulness is so important is because mindfulness is where it all starts. It all starts with our thoughts. And it's funny because I think that for those that are not mindful or those that are not woke, they don't even consider that. They're like, no, life just happens to me, has nothing to do with I'm thinking, nothing to do with my thoughts at all. Life just shows up, you know, and then I just have to react to it. You know, I need to take care of anything that's going on. Not realizing that we can deliberately pre-plan our thoughts, which can really shape our experience. Because ultimately, as part of a mindfulness practice, everything that is happening in our lives or that we're observing, we're generating thoughts about it. And so going back to Robin's definition, mindfulness is noticing without judgment. If we can just notice all the events and circumstances and the reality of our life without judgment, then that gives us an opportunity to further deliberately create the kind of thoughts that we want to have, you know? So if we can take that mindfulness moment, in fact, Becky, I think you shared this story, but I read it in a book recently too. It's the story of the person who, you know, there's this small village and there's a man in the village who has a son, and the son is breaking in a horse, and the horse bucks him off and breaks his leg, right? And so everyone goes, oh my gosh, you poor man, your only son, your eldest son, who is supposed to take care of you, you know, as you get older, now has this broken leg, and we're in this small village. He may never recover or whatever, you know, he's at least out of commission for 6 months. Well, then the next day, the government comes to town and drafts all the eligible young men, the able-bodied young men, for a war that just broke out, right? And so then everyone in the village is going, oh my gosh, you're so lucky that happened to your son, because now you get to keep your son home and he doesn't have to go to war. And so when we look at things mindfully, and if we are slower to judge, and I'd even say even slower to discern and look more with a discerning eye as opposed to a judgment eye, we get to look and say, okay, this circumstance or this reality is happening in my life. What do I want that to mean for me? What information can I glean from it? And then how can I use that as a springboard to create my thoughts going forward to what I want to create, you know? So if something does happen, say you're, you know, I don't know, we could come up with a million different examples. But point being, mindfulness helps us to observe the world in a way where we don't have to be reactionary. We can deliberately create. And we use the word mindfulness, but basically mindfulness can also be exchanged for meditation in many cases. You know, we're talking about slowing down the mind, allowing ourselves to observe as opposed to quickly react and make a judgment call when it comes to the world happening around us. Andrew, I see that you joined us. Did you want to add anything into our mindfulness conversation?
Hi, we had a little break in our recording session, so I got to step out. Well, they're just rehearsing a song that I'm not part of. So, yeah, you know, I love what you were saying about how sometimes we think that life happens to us and then our job's to react to it. And really, when you take some time every morning, if this is just part of your life, you take some time every morning to center yourself, ground your thoughts, come from a place of stillness, all of a sudden you're pre-paving your way so that you're not reacting to whatever happens throughout your day. It's more of a predictive experience, if anything. And I like that word pre-paving too. So like one thing that Jeff and I do every morning before we get out of bed, we make sure that the first 5 minutes or so of our day is we lay in our bed and we start pre-paving our day before we even get out and start talking to people or thinking about stuff. And, you know, it might start really general, like thinking, I love the comfort of my bed sheets. I love how comfortable it is to lay here in bed. I love the soft morning glow of the sunlight coming through the window. I appreciate the sound of the birds outside my window. And then I might start focusing a little more on how I want my day to unfold. I might think things like, today, I want to focus on things I appreciate. Today, I want to observe things that satisfy me. Today, I want to be met with interactions that leave me feeling fulfilled. And then, you know, if it's appropriate and it still feels good, I might get even more specific. Maybe I know that I have a sales presentation or a class or a family affair or something, you know, coming up, an important phone call. And I might think, I want to bring my best self to that interaction. And I want to be met with positive response. And as long as it feels good, then you know that you're on point. As if at any moment it starts to feel heavy or you start thinking contentious or frictiony or resistant thoughts, go back to the general things. I just want to unfold today in a beautiful way.
I love that. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, I don't think you heard this, but we have someone on the call. Her name's Robin, and she's actually a mindfulness instructor. So it's so it's fun to have her insight here. She's typing in the comments. Robin also points out that being mindful, when we slow our minds down, it helps us become aware of where we have fear and especially unhelpful thought patterns. And Robin, I would even make the case in the connection that fear typically comes from unhelpful thought patterns. I don't know if that was the point you were trying to make or that you were leading into, but that's where I would go with that, is that unhelpful thought patterns actually start to create the experiences in our life that are negative, right? Everything that we're experiencing in our life starts with a thought first, you know? And so if we can adjust the way that we're thinking about things, we start by slowing down the automatic subconscious thoughts. Andrew, do you mind if I use you an example? So last night, Andrew was telling me that he was really kind of concerned and a little anxious about some of the things that are happening in our business and some of the plans that we have and the goals that we've made. And he didn't really feel like, was just feeling a little anxious, you know, and his emotions and feelings weren't very positive about it. And I said, hey, it sounds to me like you have some, some conscious, but a lot of subconscious thought patterns that maybe you've not really even been aware of that's been happening today that is, you know, building up and causing those feelings to be inside you. And then he said, I think he said it either last night or this morning, he said, hey, you know what? You're right. I think I've had these subconscious thoughts going and going and going that are creating these anxious feelings in me that I've, you know, kind of been aware of, but not really, right? Oh, and I love this. See, this is great, and this dovetails right into the things Andrew and I have been learning. So Robin says, but also often we're unaware of how our bodies feel. Sometimes we feel fear or unease in our bodies before we even know we are thinking them. And I'd say that is exactly what Andrew was experiencing yesterday. He was feeling a little bit of anxiousness, and on some level wasn't even really conscious of the fact that he was, you know, had these thoughts going through his head. Did you want to share specifics, Andrew?
Yeah, this reminds me of that thing that we keep going back to that we love from Marianne Williamson, where she says, you cannot solve the problem at the level of the problem. You must transcend the problem. And, so as Robin's talking about, as you're talking about fear, Robin, I think so many of us, we look at something that incites fear within us, right? Maybe it's something like having a goal or mentoring somebody or whatever it is, or even just like imagining that you could actually be successful in this space. And we want to address the problem at the problem, though. You think, I'm afraid of doing a wellness consult, so I've got to push through the fear. And Marianne Williamson would say, you must transcend the level of the problem. Stop thinking about how you solve the fear or solve the problem, and think about what you want. Think about, if all you can do is imagine divine assistance and coming and bringing you a miracle so that somehow the wellness consult miraculously is a positive experience, do that. Because that's going to put you in a space where you're more likely to receive the ideas and the inspiration and the assistance that will make it a positive experience. And if not this time, you'll learn, and next time you'll be one step closer to positive experiences. But I would almost even plead with each of us on this call to let go of that pattern of solving the problem at the level of the problem. I mean, it's easy to talk about that in terms of dealing with team members or customers. Maybe you've got some friction in a relationship in the business, and that friction doesn't match the energy of success that you're here for, right? It doesn't match the energy of fulfillment and satisfaction that you're here for. But as long as you sit there and try and solve the friction at the level of the friction, well, if he would just do this and maybe stop treating me like this, and and now all you're doing by law of attraction, literally, is attracting more of that stuff that you're talking about. Robin says, you have to be in the flow. Yeah. Well, that reminds me of what Esther Hicks teaches. There's a constant flow of well-being. And as long as you're trying to fix the problem above the problem, you're never going to tap into that well-being because you're tapped into problems. But if you can instead turn your focus to well-being, to what feels good, to why you're actually here, and the more habitually you can do that, that's where it starts to unfold, and where you realize all the efforting and stuff that you were invested in, like, it's not really necessary because stuff will work out, especially as you invite it to work out by focusing on stuff working out.
Exactly. I love that. And again, I love that we're all getting, coming together in this from our different resources and different things that we've learned. And I love how they all flow into each other to the same message, right? This idea of flow. Something that has been coming up for me and Andrew the past couple of weeks is really focusing on where we're most productive and what kind of emotional state we have that helps us produce the most constructive level of productivity, not just in our business, but in our life. And when I say productivity, I really mean mental productivity. That can sometimes turn into real physical action. In fact, it often does, right? And produces real results. But what I'm getting at is that I would put to you that one of the best things you could do for your business is get into a space where you're feeling on the positive or negative spectrum of emotions, right? Meditation usually brings us back to neutral, where we don't really have a lot of active thoughts that are positive or negative. We're just feeling really neutral. Whatever you can do, whenever you're feeling anything less than positive, pause, meditate if you've got 5 minutes, or put on a happy song that makes you dance, watch a funny YouTube video that is so hilarious and funny to you that really lifts up your mood. Say anytime you're feeling stuck or anything less than positive emotion and you're trying to move forward in your business or really in life in general, I would say part of this mindfulness practice is having the mindfulness to say, oh my gosh, observe what you're feeling with no judgment, right? You don't ever judge yourself for feeling whatever you're feeling. Observe yourself in that non-judgmental space, just with discernment, so you can acknowledge, whether it's serving you or not. And do something to reboot yourself, to get yourself into a space where you're feeling more positive emotion. I would say that positive emotion moves you into a space where you're experiencing the flow. You're experiencing the flow of creativity. You're experiencing the flow of abundance. You're experiencing the flow of motivation. For some people, and for a lot of people, that's putting a few drops of one of their favorite oils on their hands and taking a couple minutes to close their eyes and just inhale and breathe and have that mindfulness moment where you're pausing the chatter, you're pausing the flow, you're pausing the subconscious stuff too, and really focusing on what you want and the things that are going to be joyful to you. You know, one of our teachers that we listen to and follow is Abraham Hicks. Actually said, before anything, he said, in fact, I may have even written the quote down. Let me check. But they said, oh, I love this. And I think that's really important too, to be able to acknowledge this. So Robin says, acknowledge the negative feelings. Don't just stay there, right? Because as soon as we acknowledge them and identify them for what they are, then we have the awareness. We're getting just enough information to move forward from that point. Now, and I think Robin would agree with me, her word choice, I think, there is really wonderful. She says acknowledge. She doesn't say stay there and bathe in them and swim in them and repeat them and put them on every single day, and acknowledge that you're experiencing them with no judgment, right? And acknowledge it so that you can move past it. Because having that awareness of it, again, back to that Marianne Williamson quote, you can't solve the level of the problem at the level of the problem. Acknowledging it helps you see it for what it is. And in fact, we listened to a talk that she did a couple of weeks ago when we were in New York City, and she says, name it, name the reality, name it, and then claim the solution, claim the answer, claim what you're looking for. So acknowledge, name the negative feelings just enough to have the acknowledgement of them and to know and have the awareness and have the lesson that they're teaching you, and then claim something more positive. Move forward into action that you want to take, or even how you want to feel. And again, you go through your healing process, you allow yourself to have the negative feelings, and then you move forward. You move on from those negative feelings. And again, this is a personal journey for everyone. The only thing I would coach you in this as a general rule is again, that you acknowledge, you don't stay there, you don't swim in it, but that acknowledgement is going to be personal to you, and it's going to feel really good either way. And you'll know when you keep digging into that, and you can also ask family and friends, and for real honest feedback, they'd be able to tell you, hey, yeah, you're living this negative story over and over and over again, or you know what, I see that you've acknowledged this, and I see areas in your life where you're moving forward from that. So again, acknowledge it, honor everything, honor your experience, and allow yourself to let that be a platform from which you move forward and move higher.
Do you mind if I share a story from yesterday?
Yeah.
So, and I'll make this anonymous, but I don't think that she'd mind if I shared her story. So I was talking on Voxer over Voxer with one of our builders, and this is a newer girl, and she's super cool. She came in with just big intentions. She wanted to go premiere her first month, and anyway, it's been very slow getting started. She's enrolled one guy, which is really, really cool. I think she wanted a lot more action happening though, and she told me in our Voxer chat, she said that life has just been so chaotic, so crazy, and she said, I'm so sorry, I have not been focused. I know that I've been totally checked out. I just have to solve this chaos, and I like this story to learn from as a group here, because this is such a good opportunity to say, hey, there's a place for mindfulness. Because the truth is, we already named it, the truth is that life doesn't happen to you. You attract life. And if there's some life that you've attracted that's not what you wanted, all that is an opportunity to re-clarify what you want to attract more of going forward. And that's like why Jeffrey and I start our day off with some mindfulness exercises every morning, and it's so healthy for us. You look at this doTERRA world around us, and there's such a myriad of the kinds of people that succeed. There's the people that are diamonds that only work 10 hours a week, and there are the people that are presidential diamonds that work 120 hours a week, and everything in between. And there's people that do a lot of effort to succeed and make money, and there's a lot of people that it just kind of flows and comes naturally. And all of that is information that you can pull from in order to piece together what you keep on the forefront of your mind. And whatever is on the forefront of your mind, that's what you're going to be attracting. I think of a lot of the people that have said to me, hey, Andrew, I really want to succeed in doTERRA. I just have to solve all this chaos in my life first. And, I would say right then, all the world's greatest spiritual teachers would say, that's a good way to attract more chaos. To say, I have to solve the chaos and then I'll move forward with my life. You won't. You'll just attract more chaos to solve and more chaos to solve. What you must do is transcend the chaos, transcend the fear, transcend the problem. And you do that by beginning to spend some time every day intentionally thinking about what you want to bring into your life. And so another truth is that life will never be quote unquote ideal to succeed in your business. You're never going to have the kids in lessons perfectly and succeeding at all their classes and your husband happy with work and the marriage perfect, and the conditions will never be such that you have adequate mental justification to invest in your business. The way that it works is by saying, okay, I know my priorities, my church calling, my PTA membership, my doTERRA business, my mothership or, my fathership, and my spouseship in my marriage. And those are my priorities. How do I want this to unfold? How do I want today to unfold? And, start spending some time every morning thinking about that, and in a delightful way, not in a I've got to take action at the level of all my problems to make sure I make them all fit together. Do you understand the difference? I'm talking about even imagining things that may not exist yet in your reality. Imagining the kids getting along by themselves and the marriage going really well and your job just being low stress and doTERRA just falling together by itself really peacefully. And even if all you can do is start to imagine that, well, that's what the most happy and successful people do every day anyway. So that would be just doing yourself a favor. And again, that's where you start attracting the cooperative components that allow you to experience all of that. You're not meant, you guys, to sacrifice greatly and suffer just long enough until you start having enough success to justify being happy. You're meant to be happy right now. And you'll start creating happiness as you start thinking about your conditions in a happy way, and start thinking about your business and your life and your job and all of those working together in a way that would be happy to you. So be mindful of those things.
I love that. Good feedback too. Well, hey, we wanted to share this mindfulness stuff with you. I think we've talked about why we feel like it's really important, why it's good for you in your doTERRA business and really life. Just a little plug for network marketing. You guys, this is one of the things that I love about network marketing in our doTERRA business, especially, specifically the culture that we have in doTERRA, is that it's not just, and really entrepreneurship, period. It's never just about the business that you're in, right? It's a lot of personal self-discovery, growth, becoming more aware, and consciously deciding and stepping up and saying, yeah, I do want to consciously create my life in the way that I desire it to be, and that's our message here, and that's what we get to do and learn in doTERRA. And I really think that incorporating some kind of mindfulness practice into your day, again, I think meditating for 10 to 15 minutes is a really wonderful idea. 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day, preferably in the morning. Guided meditations are great. But incorporating some kind of mindfulness practice, and these are the benefits that you'll be able to see from it, is you'll be able to start acknowledging and seeing when life is happening in front of you without judgment, and then saying, oh, I'm in a place where before I may have automatically had some thoughts going through my head, and instead I can choose my thoughts because I'm real consciously aware of it. In fact, I want to share one little plug for you. So yesterday I was driving and somebody cut me off. And my initial thought was, that little stinker. But before the thought even finished, I saw the person, I saw their face, and immediately it reminded me that is not just a vehicle in front of me that cut me off. That is another human being, and I have no idea what they're doing. And so and this actually happened twice yesterday, and Andrew was in the car for the other one, and the other one I didn't catch myself, but this one I did. and before the thought even completed that I was frustrated or disappointed or whatever, immediately I was able to acknowledge and choose my thoughts. And I realized, that's a human being. I would want them to feel nothing but love from me. And they may be in a hurry. They may their heart may be racing because they were distracted, and they're so glad that they just looked up just in time to correct themselves on the wheel. Is that dangerous? Yeah. But is it my job to judge them? It's over. It's past the fact. There's nothing that I can do except bless them with compassion, right? And I'm sure that was a lesson for them, regardless of what it was, right? And whether they chose to have a lesson out of it or not, maybe they're driving off just as pissy and mad as they were before. But the point of the matter, the fact of the matter is that I don't know. And so if I can choose a thought that is going to serve me better than a negative thought, if I can choose a positive thought, then why not do that? What is the harm? Where am I missing out in choosing a more positive thought as opposed to a negative one? There's one last quote I want to share with you that I think is really, really awesome. And I will be honest, this quote either came from Marianne Williamson or it came from me. Because I'm pretty sure I wrote it down while I was listening to something of hers. And anyway, so I'm attributing this to Marianne Williamson, but it may have been a mind meld between the two of us. So, and it's this. The point is not that the blame doesn't matter. The point is that the blame doesn't lead to your inner peace. And that is something beautiful that mindfulness can teach us, is that the blame is not the important part. The only thing that's ever important is us aligning with our own inner peace, our own inner selves, and everything that we can use in our external world to help us get closer to that is only going to be better for us. Not even in the long run, but immediately in the short run, right away, the here and now. So, okay.
Hey, Jeff, can I add one little thing?
Yes, please.
You guys are like so high above me, but one thing, it's very lovely. I love it, actually. So one thing that when we're talking about not putting a judgment on stuff. So one way that I like to look at stuff, because in the church that I go to, people talk a lot about trials. And I don't love the word trial. I like the word feedback.
I love that,
I like to call all the experiences that I'm having in life are just feedback. And is this feedback that I want or feedback that I don't want? Am I on course or am I not on course? And what can I do to get the feedback that I want, or to get to the place that I want to be? Am I on my way there or am I not? It's like, I think of it kind of as like an airline pilot takes off in the general direction of where he wants to go. And obviously he's course correcting the whole way because there's wind, there's 100 million things that would blow them off course. And they don't just say, oh, screw it, now I'm screwed and we're just going to land in Kalamazoo and we wanted to go to New York City, right? Of course not. They just course correct. They don't make a judgment on it. So I feel like when we have experiences that are experiences or feedback from life that we don't necessarily want, we just think of it as, oh, I just need to course correct. Because I feel like sometimes we get into this, oh my gosh, I'm so awful because blah, like we get in this huge like downward spiral of judgment or blame or whatever. Oh, this thing is happening to me. And it's like, does that make sense? And it kind of like that last quote you said from you/Marianne, where it doesn't matter. Like that blaming and making a judgment about it does nothing to get you to where you want to go. So, it comes down to, I prefer to look at it as feedback. Sorry, gotta pick up my baby. And just, make a course correction as fast as possible, because that will get me to the place I want to go as quickly as possible. If I spend a lot of time making judgments on it and putting some sort of meaning there, that still doesn't get me where I want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a less Zen way of saying it, but I just feel like I just look at everything as feedback, and is it feedback that I want or feedback that I don't want?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Becky. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Becky shared that with me before in a different setting, and I remember loving that story then, and I love it now. It is so relevant for the way that we live our lives, right? Acknowledging pieces of feedback, course correcting with no judgment, just as though we were, flying an airplane and getting us to where we need to go. It's just part of life. We know that things are going to happen and come up, and that's okay. We don't have to love them. We also don't have to hate them or resist them or push against them. We just, that's not for me, or this is the different direction I'm going to go. This tells me that maybe this is the right space I want to be. I'm going to course correct. All right. Okay. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on our call today. I'll post this. I'll get this recording converted, and I'll actually have it posted on the Facebook group. And again, thank you for joining us. Focus on what you want and choose thoughts that serve you. Okay. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful Tuesday.
Thanks.
We'll catch you later.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.